want my time back, I want my money back, and I want the space in my brain back. I've read some books this year. Some of them were amazing, some of them were moderate disasters. But before I get into them, as an engineer, I owe you some data. Today it's November 19 and I've read 25 books so far this year, which means that on average I've read exactly 0.54 books per week. Assuming an average page count of 300 pages per book, that gives me an average of 23 pages per day. So let's dive into the 25 books I've read this year, starting with the 1-star books, which means I wish I hadn't read them. Let's start with Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V. In my defense, I bought this book not realizing that it was by Gary V, and I bought it on recommendation by Ali Abdaal. If you didn't know this already, Gary V really likes himself, and that is my main takeaway from the book. Moving on to Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I also bought this book because it was recommended by Ali Abdaal. I will say it's motivational and the writing style isn't bad, but it has no substance. And it's written by Simon Sinek, which I also didn't realize when I bought this. He's that annoying guy on YouTube who will always tell some story about how he was in a room with a bunch of executives and he didn't understand what they were saying and no one dared to say anything except him. He said, "I don't understand," and then suddenly everyone said, "Yeah, I also don't understand. I also don't understand." And that happened to him in like 500 different scenarios. Yeah, I don't buy it, but I did buy this, and I would not have bought the book if I knew it was by him. So let's leave the strategy behind and move on to the 2-star books, which I don't necessarily want my money back, but I also probably won't read these books again. First, The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. This book is very American. I also read it because it was recommended by Ali Abdaal. Why do I read so many books recommended by Ali Abdaal? Well, I took his YouTube course called the Part-Time YouTuber Academy, and I also took his business course for creators called Creatorpreneur, and both of these are really great courses that gave me a bunch of amazing book tips and then some not so amazing ones. This book isn't completely useless, almost. It has some useful advice. It's basically telling you that starting a business is the millionaire fast lane as opposed to working a job. Surprise! And it says you should make sure that your business fulfills certain criteria, like your business should be solving a real problem, there should be a high barrier to entry so that you can't be easily copied, you should be able to control the success of your business, it should be scalable, and you should be able to decouple your earning potential from your time. And now that you know that, you don't need to read the book. I'm gonna have like books all over my floor. I will only do this with the low rated books because I do care about the integrity of my books, but not of those. Now let's talk about 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, which I actually kind of liked until I realized why he wrote this. Peter Thiel is one of the founders of PayPal, and he is really against bootstrapping your business. He basically says that the only businesses worth building are unicorns, which is a term for startups that reach a value of at least $1 billion US. And yes, those kinds of startups usually require intense funding from the start, and I appreciate getting a different perspective to The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, which is all about bootstrapping your business. But Peter Thiel is obviously biased by the huge success of PayPal, and I also found out that he owns a venture capital firm, which means that he has a huge interest in telling people that they need funding for their businesses and that you can only build a great business if you invest tons of money into it. I don't know, kind of seems like he's scared of people building lean businesses. Now, on to the 3-star books. And looking at these, I realized that I'm being such a German rating these, because Germans on Amazon will be like, great book, exactly what I was looking for, nothing to complain, 3 stars. So that is what this category is. First, this biography about Elon Musk by Ashley Vance. I got this for Christmas last year from my mom. Hello, mommy. And I'm not the biggest fan of Elon Musk, so I procrastinated reading this one for a couple of months, but it was so interesting. There's a lot about the beginnings of PayPal and SpaceX and Tesla that I didn't know, and there are some really valuable lessons that I took from the book as well, which I did discuss in another video. And I even have a slightly better opinion of Elon Musk now after reading this, although he kind of destroyed that again with the whole Twitter situation. I'm filming this in the middle of November, by the way, so who knows what kind of things he's gonna have pulled by the time this video goes up. Now let's talk about 2 books at once. Is that even allowed? Well, I'm feeling brave today. So, The Renaissance Soul by Margaret Lowenstein and How to Be Everything by Emily Wapnick. These 2 books I want to review together because I read them back to back, which was probably a mistake because they are very similar. But I was reading them for a video and I wanted to have 5 different books to talk about for the video, and I needed to get the script done, so basically I had no choice. They're both written for people who have lots of different interests and skills. In other words, for polymaths or multi-potentialites or jack of all trades. Both are about building a career and life that takes advantage of your different interests and talents, rather than forcing yourself to specialize in something when that is against your nature. How to Be Everything was more fun to read, while The Renaissance Soul had more useful exercises for me. If you're naturally interested in many different things and you have a hard time picking something to specialize in, I recommend both of these. No throwing this time. Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. This is a must read for any creators. It goes into tons of storytelling techniques in detail and shows with tons of examples how to turn a mediocre story into a brilliant one. Next, I want to talk about Austin Kleon's trilogy. I'm including them here based on an average rating of 3 stars, but I would actually give them quite distinct ratings. The first book in the series, Steal Like an Artist, gets 3 stars from me. It's a great book about how to get ideas from other people's work and put them together in a unique way, and how that's really what all artists are doing. Show Your Work gets 4 stars. It's an even better book that shows you exactly how you can build in public and why you should do that. But I feel like the third book, Keep Going, was just written for the sake of making it into a trilogy, rather than really having much more to say. The other 2 books are just way stronger in their messaging and novelty than this one. 2 stars. Now on to Engines. I also made a video all about this book, which you can check out, but it's basically a really great visual book all about engines. As an engineer, this is great to have, and it's also written in a very visual and engaging way. It has lots of pictures and so much knowledge about engines. It's just not a book I would read from start to finish in one go, since I'm not that passionate about learning about engineering in my free time, so I gave it a solid 3 stars. And the final 3-star book is The Cult of We by Elliot Brown and Maureen Farrell. This is a book about the story of the company WeWork. It's absolutely mind-boggling and a great read. Basically, WeWork is a company that still exists today that offers co-working office space and somehow managed to sell themselves as a technology company even though they never were one, and therefore got incredibly overvalued by investors, and that led to a whole bunch of things going on. Super interesting. I was really into the book the whole time and basically couldn't stop reading it. The only reason I didn't give it any more stars is because I didn't necessarily learn that much from the book, but it was nonetheless very entertaining, and I think it increased my understanding of the world of startups and venture capital. Now, 4-star books are books that I took something really valuable from and that I definitely want to read again in the future. The first one is The Art and Business of Online Writing by Nicholas Cole. It's a super concrete and detailed explanation of how the author Nicholas Cole worked himself up to become a successful online writer. It really helped me understand how the world of online writing works, how I can improve my writing, and what aspects matter the most so that I should put the most effort into them, like the title, for example. Atomic Habits by James Clear is about making small changes in your life that have a big impact. It helped me reflect on the question, who do I wish to become, and identify habits that this kind of person would have, and then figure out how to include those habits into my life with the least amount of friction possible. The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber explains how you can treat your business like a franchise from day one to make sure that your business isn't just a job at worst. It's a great book for business beginners. It helped me understand what a business really is and what main players it needs to be successful. Now, this would be a 5-star book if the author wasn't a little bit full of himself and really condescending towards the fictional client that he's advising throughout the whole book. But the knowledge in there is just so life-changing that I had to see past that. Next up, Quiet by Susan Cain, which you can see. I have also made a whole video dedicated to this book because it was so good. But in short, it's a book for introverts. It explains what being an introvert really means, why you should see your introversion as a good thing, and how to really take advantage of it in your career and life. The author also has an amazing TED Talk on the topic, by the way. Now, Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte is about organizing your knowledge digitally to essentially build a second brain online. I'm using many of the principles and tips from the book to organize my personal projects in Notion and Google Drive and on my laptop, and I'm even starting to use it more and more for organizing my engineering projects using the programs that I have available at work. It's great because it offers a holistic solution that is independent of any specific platform or app, and that becomes more and more valuable the more you use it and add to it. And the final 4-star book is Range by David Epstein. This book is all about hyping up generalists. Finally, we don't all have to specialize to be successful. We can pursue several completely different interests. We can change careers, or we can pick our specialization later in life after trying out many things. And all of this can be an advantage. This book delivers the scientific proof for these claims and shares interesting examples from athletes, musicians, and scientists who are successful because they're generalists and not specialists, not despite it. Now, finally, onto the 5-star books, which are books that are so amazing that I want to read them again every single year. Starting with The Minimalist Entrepreneur. This book is written by the founder of Gumroad, Sahil Lavinia, and it's all about focusing on building a community and solving the problems of your community, building a profitable business over a large one, and growing organically to just the right size of a business. The $100 Startup is another amazing business book. I don't have a physical copy of it here because it belongs to my boyfriend and I just borrowed it during our vacation, but it was really, really great. I literally could not stop taking notes. The book really breaks it down for you. What the most basic purpose of a business is that you should never lose track of, how to decide which opportunities to pursue and which not, and obviously how to start a business from scratch using very little money or $100. Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley. This is the best marketing book I've ever read. It tells you exactly how to run a marketing campaign and create a hype around your business and products. It's so good. Traction by Gino Wickman is the book I've taken by far the most notes on ever. It's telling you how to run a business in the most practical way possible, down to how many meetings you should have with whom and what the agenda of those meetings should be, what numbers you should be tracking and how often, how to define clear roles at your company, and so many more things. If you're serious about running a business or becoming an executive, you must read this book. The Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman was recommended to me by my department manager, basically as a replacement for an MBA degree, which is a bold claim, but he's not wrong. And the book itself spends the first chapter on telling you why getting an MBA is a waste of your time and money, and how you'd be much better off investing that time and money and energy into building a business and learning by doing. And then this book tells you everything you need to know about business administration, supposedly, but in a really understandable and engaging way. For example, there's dedicated chapters on value creation, marketing, sales, value delivery, and finance, and so many more things. It's basically like a business encyclopedia where you can look up everything you need to know about business, except that it's so fun to read that you also can just read it in one go. And the #1 book I read this year is Roadmap by Road Trip Nation. And it's probably also going to be the first book I read in 2023 because it's just a great workbook for starting into the new year. It helps you figure out what you want to do with your life with tons of exercises and stories from other people. And you can work through it again and again and again, and every time figure out something new about yourself. It made me feel so inspired and motivated and clear about what I want to achieve when I last read it. And what more could I ask from the first book I plan to read in the new year? So, Happy New Year. I hope you have a truly great one. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in my next video. Okay, I need to show you this mess. Alright, books. And